Thank you. You guys hear me okay? Thanks, John. Wow, what an event here. What an exceptional day. You know, on my journey to get out here, for those of you know who follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, my family went through a pretty rough tragedy. And I thought long and hard about if I could share that tragedy, the loss of my father and my stepfather. And I thought to myself, you know, maybe I won't talk about it. Maybe I'll be able to hold back the tears and you know, kind of live with that myself. And throughout the experience of this weekend and throughout the time that we've shared together, to really seeing the leadership and seeing what we've accomplished, I kept thinking to myself, but this is my family. And so I'm going to share with you a story it's difficult for me, but it's one that directly links to ViSalus and it directly links to who we are as a company. And so I feel like I've been called to do so. Recently I've found myself more ever in my entire life on my knees in faith praying for strength. And part of the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because I've gotten so many emails and so many messages and so many posts from you directly sending me that strength and also adding me to your very prayers. And so from my family to yours, I thank you for giving us the strength to endure what was a difficult loss for us. Thank you. There are three major links to this story. Number one is family first. Number two is about mentorship and giving back. And number three is health and the consequences of poor health or of not making decisions in accordance with great health and having that ultimately lead to the loss of a family member. I'm going to go through all three of those and how they link to ViSalus and how we built ViSalus around those core principles. My mentorship started with a single audio tape when I was 17 years old. My mother had met a man who was a very wealthy man, and he had fallen in love with her. And he had to inherit a juvenile delinquent, high school dropout, punk kid who had hardly a reading education above 9th grade and certainly couldn't do math or anything like that. And his first lesson to me was to give me an audio series called Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. Now, I grew up in a neighborhood where we consumed the inspirational music of Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, and Notorious B.I.G. I got some people in the house here. And so you can imagine as I was listening to this old radio man's voice talking about attitude and talking about how you could go from being literally a vagrant on a park bench to becoming a multimillionaire, I kept thinking to myself, why do they not teach this in school? Why have I never heard such a thing? And this rich man who has taken a vested interest in me because of my beautiful mother is giving me the first lesson of personal growth. That book led to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, once again reaffirming his beliefs. And I got to see and witness the model that he was, the millionaire that he was, the success that he was, but more important than the monetary success, the success he was in living a fulfilled life, of being happy, and the success that he had in teaching me and teaching anyone who would listen. So my journey started with personal growth, and so does yours at ViSalus. And that's part of the reason why we partnered with Success Magazine. It's part of the reason why Darren Hardy is sitting front row here today, and you'll be hearing from him tomorrow. And that's one of the reasons why we are insistent that you start your very journey with a copy of that magazine and the audiobooks and so forth that'll help you on your path. That same value is shared by Nick and shared by Blake, and in fact, it was me sharing that story with them, and they're sharing the story of how personal growth had changed their life and their perspective from where they had come from, that we decided to join forces in this company and create ViSalus. It was purely because we wanted to grow people. My mentor and my stepfather was the father of my beliefs. He was the father of my confidence. He was the father of my self-esteem, and he was the father of my family. Until last week, I had no idea how much of a father he really was to me. I remember sitting there with him bedside over the past 7 days, is I got to watch cancer take his life from the inside out. I got to share with him moments. I got to have peace, and I got to close wounds that I had carried with me ever since my biological father quit to bother, right? He shared his very last moments with me. I shared with him how much I loved him, and he got to share with me how proud he was of the work that we have done here in this company. I promised him, as his very last words, that I would continue his legacy. And I'm here today to declare the first step in just doing that, and that is continuing his legacy. Because I once read a book that says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And that's what we are doing here in ViSalus. I made a commitment to God, I made a commitment to my mother, I made a commitment to him, and I make that commitment to you. Together, we will literally change legacies for years to come, long beyond my days on this planet, your days on this planet, because ViSalus has been built to make a change in human beings. I was asked to talk, thank you. I was asked to talk about the growth of our company here today, and I can't speak to that without speaking to the growth of you and what we are going to do together, about how our products, and I remember sitting there with him, having endured this and experienced this, and I've dealt with death, but never death like this, and I know there's a lot of cancer survivors in this room here, in this family here, and I know there's a lot of people that have lost many to cancer in this room. I know many of you have endured similar experiences or even more difficult experiences, but I can tell you this, I kept thinking to myself, what would have happened if 5 years ago I would have insisted, not just offered, not just made mention, that he take our products? What would have happened if I would have insisted that he take his health seriously? What would have happened if I would have made sure no matter what? I mean, he was a wealthy man. He could afford the products. But I kept thinking to myself, why didn't I insist? Now, I don't carry any massive guilt with me. What I carried was really a lesson that I believed was intervening with me right then and there to tell you. Don't just offer these products to your friends and family members. Don't just passively share with them what you're kind of doing or what you're a little into. Insist that they take action on their health. Insist that they lose those extra pounds, in some case, literally pounds that are costing them their very lives. Insist that they take their health seriously. And maybe you'll get a few more days of life out of them. Maybe you'll have a few more joyous experiences. Maybe you'll be able to share with them some things that you wouldn't otherwise. I know I would have had I insisted. And so the reason why I'm here today to insist, if this story has touched you, if you've resonated with this, if you've felt with this story, if you've shared similar situations, when you go back home from this event, the one mission I want you to link to is that we insist that our friends and our families take action on their health because we know better than they and because we want them to be the best them that they can be. So I insist. I insist we all take a stand for our families because that's part of the family first thing that I mentioned early on. Take a stand for their health, take a stand for their financial prosperity, take a stand for them growing as a human being. All three items that I've talked about here so far, mentorship and giving back, family first, and how our products make a change in people's lives. I do want to mention real quick the subject of giving back. Our BodyByVi Community Challenge that we launched 1 year ago today, that has already put 380,000 meals into the hands of those in need, is just getting started. And it was really started as a tribute when myself, Nick, and Blake sat together and talked about how we wanted to create a cause, who we wanted to help. It was really help those people that were our future generation that could not help ourselves. And so I know in making that pledge to the man above and to my stepfather that I would continue their legacy, I know for a fact that that was one of the major vehicles in doing so. And so just one of the steps that I plan to take over now and the immediate future is to see that that program doesn't impact hundreds of thousands of lives, but literally tens of millions of lives, not in the long term, but in the short term. In honor of my stepfather, who I will lay to rest, I actually, unfortunately, have to leave this family here to go be with mine tomorrow and actually give the eulogy. It'll be the toughest speech that I've ever imagined, that I've ever given. But in honor of him today, I'm pledging 100,000 additional meals to the BodyByVi Community Challenge to help kids between now and Thanksgiving. So So we're on the cusp of 500,000 meals, not 380,000 meals, and I know that thank you. That's leadership. Thank you. So we'll finish the 1-year anniversary date to the launch of our program at 500,000 meals into the hands of kids that were at risk, that were like me and like so many people that you know and so many people that you care for in your very communities. We will see that we finish at 500,000 just 1 year after our launch, and that number will be 5 or 10 million a year from now because of the work that we do and who we are. I shared with you the story because in the face of a loss and adversity, what I really anchored back on was you and what we have created and the impact that we are going to make as a team together. The impact in you, the impact in your families, the impact in your community, the impact in your state, your country, and eventually the world. Because that's what ViSalus stands for. That is our destiny, that is our calling, and that is going to be the growth that ViSalus achieves in the near term because you take action and we take action in concert. That is the plan for our growth. It's to grow you and grow everyone around you until there's no one else to grow on this planet. And that's what ViSalus growth stands for.